Okay, now I've had this miniature under hot lights for about an hour and a half, and this Milliput's completely dry. I can paint over it, which is really the next step to give it a nice base coat. Now at this point, if I see anything wrong with the bricks that I carved in, I can go back and fix that up. Maybe I didn't go all the way to the edge. I can still, carve that in. Maybe you want to go back and add some cracks or scratches or texture now. I can do that now. In fact, maybe I want this crack to go all the way to the other side, from brick to brick, in case instead of just halfway. I can carve that in. But basically, I'm going to base coat at this point. Now, I'm doing a desert road, so I'm not going to do like a gray stone. I'm not going to do a red brick. I'm going to do kind of a beige brick, a tan brick. So I'm going to use Tusk Ivory, which is a color by Reaper Miniatures Master Series High Density Paints. Alright, so it's also in their old Pro line. So any tan or beige will do, like a Hammerfall Khaki by P3 or similar color by Vallejo or whatnot. So I'm just going to give this a nice thin base coat. Again, making sure I avoid the painted miniature itself. I'm going to water this down a little bit, because what I don't want is to lose my detail. This paint's pretty thin out of the dropper, so it's good to go. But I can always water it down if I feel like I'm losing my details. Now those details are not very visible right now. You're seeing me paint kind of almost a yellow color over a yellow putty. So what's going on there is not entirely obvious through the video in terms of giving this paint coverage. It doesn't look that different right now than it did a second ago. But what's going to happen is, when I give this a wash after this dries, which you'll see in the next part of the video, all those details that we carved in, the brick, the scratches, the surface texture we did with the dry brush, all that's going to pop. All right, so this is base coat of Tusk Ivory or whatever tan you're using. That has to dry, and I'm going to put that under the hot lights for a few minutes, and then that'll be dry. And we can talk about giving this a wash to bring out the details and make them pop in just a second. Okay everyone, as you can see, my base coat is now dry. It's been about 30 minutes under a lamp, probably longer than it needed to be. So now I'm going to use a wash to create or bring out the stone effects that we carved into that Milliput. Now for this wash, you're going to want some sort of dark brown or umber wash. I am going to use a Vallejo Game Color Sepia ink, watered down a little bit, about 1 part water, 1 part ink. There's any number of washes and paints you could use. Here's a umber wash. Certainly that would be fine by Vallejo as well. Something like a dark sepia by Secret Weapon Secret Weapon washes. Even a smoke wash by Vallejo, very popular color that would work, or just like a simple brown ink by Reaper. Any number of brownish washes will work, but again I'm using the Game Ink Sepia. So I've watered down some sepia. I'm going to get a little bit more water on my brush actually, and I'm going to just apply it to the base, and what you're going to see happening immediately is that stone texture and the details that we carved in just start to pop. It looks really neat. So that very bright light tan is quickly becoming more of a medium tan, but more importantly, that stone is starting to look like a stone and the details are showing. So, hopefully you can see some of the cracks that we carved in, the irregularities that we punched into the brick. It's really starting to show up nicely. Now I'm just going to let that dry and consider that done. You could do some things like dry brush once this is dry with the original base color, or even a little bit lighter like a light tan and ivory to bring out some of the surface details back up by dry brushing, or even block in or line in some shading to make it a little bit more 3D. But I like the look of that. I like the look of the simple wash over the stone brick that we've carved in. And that works. If you were not going to use this desert kind of tan brick that I'm using for my ruined road here, if you were doing a gray brick, I would suggest a light gray base coat followed by a black ink, or even that smoke. Or if you were doing a red brick, I would suggest, you know, a fairly medium brilliant red in like Reaper Master Series HD terms with a brown ink over that. You know, like a P3 red ink actually, which is kind of like brown would work, or you know, a brown ink such as the ones that we used on this, kind of like the sepia over red, that would work for a red brick. So any number of ways you can go. You could even paint these flag stone-wise and like paint each brick a different color, a mismatching color for a patchwork look. That would be fine too. So I'm going to let that dry under a hot lamp, about 15 minutes tops. It's longer. That's really going to need under a hot lamp. And or you can use a hair dryer, or just let it dry naturally, and then go on to talking about the other side of this base, because clearly that needs some care and some finishing as well, and that'll be kind of the last steps. Okay, so now our stone its wash is dry in here, so you can see the effect. If you want a bit of a lighter stone, you go with a more of a thin down wash if you like it like I did it. You know, just 1 part water to 1 part ink. You know, you could even make it a little darker if you want to. It wouldn't out of the bottle wash or whatnot. But I kind of like the look of that. But now we need to worry about this other half. After all, this is a half brick road, or a ruined road, so we need some dirt that's going to overgrown the road over here. We're going to do a simple sand texture to represent the dirt. Actually, there's another video on this channel on basic sand texture or dirt texture if you want to check that out sometime, but I'm going to go ahead and do it on here now because this is quick and easy. So you can use watered down Elmer's to apply the sand. I prefer, you know, Mod Podge, because it really essentially it's a craft sealer. You can use gloss or matte, really doesn't matter because it's all going to dry and we're going to paint over it. But I like Mod Podge because essentially it is like a watered down glue right out of the bottle, so it just gets rid of a step. So I'm going to get some glue, and I'm going to go and really just paint in those areas of the base that are not covered. Oops, sorry, knocked the camera. They're not covered by the stone. We want to be very complete here and make sure that we cover everything that wasn't covered by that milliput brick, because this is going to be adding the final texture to the base. It's okay if we go over to the edge a little bit. That can easily be fixed up. Want to make sure that slotted base is completely covered. Want to take care of that. But we definitely want to get full coverage on this base, and again, anything that wasn't covered by the brick texture is going to get the dirt texture for this half effect. Now that, you can see where that adhesive is, that Mod Podge is, or your white glue. I want to go over to the brick a little bit. I'm actually going to go between the legs of the figure here to show you. I want the idea that this road is being more, it's an old road that is underneath this layer of dirt that's gradually, you know, coming back to the surface. So I'm going to overlap my dirt with my brick as such. I'm going to get my sand ready. Okay, I've got my simple little tub of sand here. Take one more look at my miniature, make sure I've got glue everywhere I need it, and I do. So now I'm going to go in and simply dip the miniature in the sand. Now it's really important that that wash on the stone was dry before, or right now you'd be getting sand on the brick part, which is something you don't want. You just want it on that dirt side of the base. So let me blow some sand off this miniature. Get rid of the loose material. And that's what you got, is you got your base completely textured. If you have some parts of the miniature that where the sand has gone over the lip of the base, you can take care of that by just simply scraping it off. But that's basically ready to go. The next stage is to paint. So we'll talk about painting that side in just a second.